This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to do to be able to boost your scores after you've repaired your credit. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to pay attention to be able to repair your credit. But first, what I want to show you here is I want to give you proof that I know what I'm talking about. I know how to build personal credit. But first, you got to fix your credit and then you build your credit. It does not go the opposite way. I don't care what other people tell you. You have to fix your personal credit first. So focus on repairing your personal credit, and then you can build your credit up after that. But I want to show you proof. This is my American Express card, and they have this feature on here that they had called me years ago about where you could check your spending power. And now you might be saying, well, American Express is a charge card. Yes, it is a charge card, but you could use a charge card just like a credit card. And I got the ability, if I wanted to pay it in payments. They don't give people that option when you're starting out with an American Express card. But I could show you how to work your way up to that. Even though I pay my cards off every month, this is a feature that they have that is not widely known. So what I want to show you here, so you could say, hey, Steve practices what he preaches. He just doesn't talk about credit repair. He must have his credit in tip-top shape to be able to do what he's about to show you. So right here they have where you can punch in the spending to see what your spending power is. And what I want to do is let's just put in a number here. Let's say that's $400,000. That's almost $500,000. So $400,000, and then you can hit submit. And this, if they say that this is approved, they'll tell you right away if you would get approved for that amount. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the submit button, and you see that it says good news, approved for $400,000. And down below, I could go for a higher amount, but I don't need to do that. I just wanted to show you that I wanted to give you solid proof. I don't see anyone else on YouTube, anyone else on the internet that has shown this type of power with their credit. Now let's get into how we can start working your credit to get to the same type of level, but it all starts with working and repairing your person. Okay, I hope I have your attention from you just watching that demonstration there, showing that from just one of my cards, I could charge $400,000. Now I have, I think, 7 of those, and all of them I could charge either that amount or higher on those cards. Obviously, I don't do it because I'm financially responsible, but I can tell you that I do use my cards, other people's money, to be able to run my businesses, and I profit every month from that. Now, if you're ever interested in learning about business, you can go over to my YouTube channel, Making Money with Stephen A. Williams, and I have free trainings over there. You know that I know what I'm doing because I run this business. Now, someone has stated about my camera, and I want to make a direct apology about the fingerprints. It could be a couple of different places that they could be coming from. This is a touch screen, and I utilize this a lot for other trainings. And then also I just noticed that there's like a glare from the conference room that I have right there. You can see right there, look, that's my conference room where I do a lot of trainings for business owners. People come in to our office for credit repair or help with their debt, and we will sit them down there and we will go over the things like what I'm talking to you about this right here. Like if you are a client of mine and you are visiting Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we do not hide from people. You can come to the office, schedule an appointment, and come in. Now, we do require that you do that because we have people coming in and out, and we, in their customer service has appointments, so you would have to schedule an appointment, but we'll meet with you. We'll go through your review with what's going on with your credit. So I want to talk about a few things. First, I want to have a little bit of fun, and then we're going to get right down to it with getting your credit in order. Like there's some things that I need to reiterate to you that you need to be paying attention to. So I want you, while I'm talking right now about some nonsense, I want you to get a piece of paper, because I need you to take these notes, because these are the things that's going to get you to be able to do what I just showed you there. This is the steps that I made. I'm going to tell you what you need to pay attention to, and everything starts with the foundation of having good credit. So get your paper, pen. I'm going to give everybody a few seconds, or up to 30 seconds to be able to do that. But while I'm doing that, I just want to talk about my shirt here. You see how the collar lays right there? Look at that. Everybody has something that they have or do that is just like, if it's not right, it'll bother them all the time. I know you probably have things like that. I have stuff like that. Well, my dress shirts are one of those things. If they don't lay the way that you see it laying there, I will get rid of the shirt. I'll donate it because it has to lay that way. Now, to get the shirts that way, these are very expensive shirts that I buy, because for some reason the ones that are lower cost, I don't know, they don't pay attention to that part of the shirt. But it just lays perfect. It just lays perfect. So I love that. All right, let's get to the lesson here. One among many things, I don't like to say one of the things, because it's a lot of stuff that we all have to pay attention to with our credit. But the bottom line, if you're going to have excellent credit, and I have excellent credit, like there's only a few points more that I would need to be able to have the top of the top. Like there's no digits that go higher for across the board for my credit. And I think I've just proved that to you with what I showed you earlier in the video of the credit line that I would have with just showing you for one card, and I have multiple cards that I could do either that amount or higher, that I would be able to do that. So to be able to do that, number one, you got to be able to have your personal credit under control. Number two, you do have to have income, because no one's going to give you that type of credit limits without having the income. So I'm going to show you how you work on that, what you can do to do that. Not talking about starting a business. I'm talking about what you could do with what you have now. I'm going to talk about that. And then all of the different types of credit that you have, all of that plays a part. So I'm going to run through a refresher real quick, and then we're going to talk about some things that you need to start working on right away to be able to get your credit to where you want it to be. So right here, to have excellent credit, this is the foundation. Right here is the foundation of being able to have excellent credit. This is what you need to focus on, and what you need to write down on a piece of paper. You need to get your credit reports, and I apologize again, that glare is hitting right here. You need to write this down on a piece of paper. You need to get your credit reports, and you need to take your notes, because you are about to have excellent credit. Well, you're about to get yourself into position. It's all about positioning, but you can't be in the position if you don't have the foundation under you, because then it's going to crumble. It's going to just fall apart one day. So now, right here, 10% is of your whole entire credit score is going to be based on the types of credit used. So we're looking at, do you have credit card debt? Do you have auto loans? Do you have a house? Do you have payday loans? What are the types of credit that you use? Certain types of credit helps your credit score, and certain types of credit don't. It helps, but it doesn't help it as much as it does with that the other types help. So first, let's talk about what a credit card would do for your credit score. So when you have a credit card, it's considered a revolving account. So you may have noticed this, that when you added a credit card to your credit report, like you got approved. So when you might have saw your scores dip, and then the next month you saw it jump, or maybe later you saw it, the next month you saw it, or a month or two later you saw it jump up, and I'm going to explain why that might have happened. When, even though you had got the card a month earlier than a month or 2 months later. That's something that works with the algorithm, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But you've noticed that your scores went up, and you're like, okay, why did my scores go up when I got this credit card? The reason why your scores went up is because, based on the algorithm, before you use the card, so let's just say you got a $5,000 credit card and you have not used it yet. The way the algorithm reads it is going to look at, hey, this individual got a $5,000 credit card. They haven't used it. So we're going to jump their scores up, because that's just the way the algorithm reads it. Now, if you got an auto loan, the algorithm is going to read that different. It's going to base that on a different way. It's going to say, okay, you added debt to your credit report. So now we're going to pull your credit down, but that's going to be based on a mix of your debt to income and based on how much debt you just added to your credit. So that's how that's going to be figured. So some of the times you might, you say you go and get a car and you're like, okay, I got credit, I got approved, that should help me go up. It will help you go up, but it's going to help you go up in a different way over time. But it's going to hurt you at the beginning. That's just the way the algorithm is written. It's going to hurt you at the beginning because you just added an account that it's not an open account where you just added the amount. You've added an account that you're going to be making payments on. And then over a period of time, those payments are going to help you. So understanding the types of accounts, you should be able to move forward by understanding, hey, if I go get an auto loan, I must be willing to accept those consequences of what is going to happen. But I have the foundation. I know what's going to happen, because as I make my payments, that's going to start going up. And as I pay the car off, pay it down, that's going to help. So you're going to get the benefit of the payment, which we're going to get into in a second about why that's important. But at the beginning, when we're talking about, because everybody wants to have this instant gratification, adding a credit card does give almost instant gratification because you had an open line. But you have to be careful, because if you charge, in our example with the $5,000, if you charge any amount over 30% and you carry that balance over to the next month, anything over 30%, you're going to be working against yourself with the algorithm. So you get a benefit on one side, but if you don't do how the algorithm reads it, the next month, say you charge $5,000 and you pay $2,500 off, you're still going to be 50% of that of the available credit, and it's going to actually make your scores go down. So you'll be thinking, hey, I paid half of that down. Why did my scores go down? That's just the way the algorithm is read. So when we're talking about the foundation, understanding the foundation, this is going to be how you need to proceed. You need to understand or accept the consequences, because maybe you needed to charge $5,000 and you were only able to pay $2,500. You still made your payment, but you just understand that this is the consequences of only making half of that, paying off half of the card, and then you can understand what you need to do on the following months when you are able to pay that card down. So to stop fighting against the tide, when you have credit card payments, you should only carry over the 30% or less each month. And I'm going to talk to you later
about when you need to pay that payment. Because some of you, and sorry, people walk by my office there, they be waving when I'm making these videos. Like, people will be sitting at the window watching me make these videos. It's crazy. Uh, I'm going to talk to you about when you need to make those payments, because you might be upset saying, hey, Steve, I'm making my payments and I paid it under 30%. Well, I'm going to tell you the reason why that is not working for you. It's good that you're making those payments, but there's a specific date that you need to be aware of when you make those payments. We'll get into that in a minute. Now, the types of new credit, 10% of your credit score is going to be based on the new credit that you add to your reports. So you're probably saying, okay, Steve, we talked about the types and then the new credit. So based off the new credit that you add, you get those inquiries and they're going to zing you. They're going to say, well, this is an installment. This is a credit card, so the algorithm is going to read it a certain way, and it's going to be based off of 10% of your scores. And then the next one is the length of credit history counts as 15%. So if you got those credit cards and you're making those payments, you got that auto loan, you're making those payments. I don't know why I put payday loan there, but let's not talk about payday loan. Let's talk about another credit card, or maybe you have another vehicle or something else, a mortgage that you're paying on. That's how you're going to build this over time. And that's why I tell people, stop being so much where you're thinking that all of this stuff has to happen overnight, like it's like you're buying some fast food. This here is going to take time, but it's worth 15%, and you don't want to mess up with that. And I'm going to demonstrate on the next screen why this is so important. That, as a matter of fact, with the new FICO scoring system, this is going to be one of the things. This number could probably go up, because number one, all of this stuff here doesn't even matter if you're not making the payments to stuff. So really, this 15% is actually going to, it really figures into more than 15%. But the way that the credit reporting agencies, when you try to look at their algorithm, they're stating it's 15%. But this here counts a lot higher, and I'm going to demonstrate in a minute why I believe that. The next thing is your total debt, 30%. Remember when I talked about what you got on your credit cards, your auto loan, and we'll say mortgage instead of payday loan? That total amount of debt that you're carrying over month after month feeds into the algorithm, because even though they don't show this on there is a debt to income ratio that is a feature within the credit reporting industry. And you might be saying, well, how do they know my income? Well, every time you fill out an application, it shows your income. So they have that information at least, one of the times that you filled it in. Every credit card application, you filled it in, and on an automobile application, you filled it in, and definitely on a mortgage, you filled it in. So they do have that information. So they will look at what is your total debt that you're carrying. And if you look at your credit reports, month after month, it will say if you're either paying down debt or if you're increased your debt. And you better believe it, if you're increasing your debt, your credit score will get penalized. Not to say that, maybe you made some purchases that you're utilizing that you just had to do. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that you're understanding the consequences. Some of the times people try to do things and they say, well, why did I suffer this consequence? You suffer that consequence because that is a consequence of doing that particular thing. So we want to be clear on that stuff. Now, the next thing is the payment history, 35%. So you have, the difference is the length, how long you've been paying, because some of the times you could get denied because they'll say, well, hey, you just got that card, or you just got that car. You just don't have enough payment history for us to be able to make a decision on giving you credit. And then you have your payment history, regardless of where you started. You got that card last month. Have you been making those payments? So they're going to say, hey, you just got credit. And if you're not even paying us now, I'm not, another creditor is going to look at it. If you're not paying that creditor now, why would I even give you any credit? That's how they're going to be looking at it. So you got 35% of your credit score is going to be based on that payment history. So if we look at this, if we just sum all of this up, I want you to be honest with yourself and say, have you been taking care of all of those categories? Obviously, I've proved to you that I've been taking care of all of those categories by the video that I showed you at the start of this video. So honestly, have you been taking care of all of those categories with your credit? If you haven't, what I want you to do immediately after this video is I want you to start committing to making those changes in your life so you can start experiencing and having the credit that you deserve. Now, the way that you get the credit that you deserve is to do the things to get the credit that you deserve. You don't just deserve to have good credit because you're born or because you're a human. You need to do the things, these things right here. Pay attention to every type of credit that is used. Pay attention to all the new credit that you add. Like, be careful of going to stores. Like when my wife and I go to the department store, and they say, oh, you want to save they raise it to, do you want to save 40%? Just apply for this card. We don't do that stuff. We don't go for that type of stuff because that we understand that adding those new credit lines, especially those types of lines, will hurt our credit. Other people do it and they don't understand the consequences of doing that. So be very careful. So look at all of this. Pay attention to the types of credit used, the new credit that you are looking to add on. Understand the consequences of that, the length of history. Understand that this is something that you got to do over time. This is something that you cannot manipulate for yourself. You are not going to be able to manipulate and say the next day the credit card that you just got the other day that you're going to make it like you made, 2 years of payments on there. That's just not going to be able to happen. The other thing is your total debt. Pay attention to how you're carrying over debt. Like, look at your credit reports. Go to the last month. Go to the month before. Go to the month before that. And look at how your the fluctuation on your debt that you're carrying over. Are you paying down debt, or are you unconsciously continually adding onto your debt every month? Like, some of the times when you just lay it down on a piece of paper and you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, we need to take care of that. If we make a change there, that could actually save us money. We make a change there, that can actually make our scores go up. And then the next thing is your payment history. Look at your payment history. Get those credit reports. Go through every trade line that you have on there and just give yourself a grade. If you've made all the payments, you got an A+. If you have late payments, give yourself let's just say give yourself a C, depending on how many you've missed. Let's just say give yourself a B if you miss one, but if you've missed multiple, you need to ask yourself, why did I miss those payments? And then you need to grade yourself. And then if you've missed multiple, like I saw one yesterday where a person had missed half of their payments. They got half of their payments on time and they have half of their payments that are late. Ask yourself that question. Why did I make those payments late? Some people make them because they didn't know that it would matter with their credit score. Like, they just were getting things and they were like, I'm going to pay it, but it don't matter if I pay it on time. I'm going to pay it anyway. That will hurt you. That's a consequence that you don't want to go through because they're going to be looking at this. 35% of your payments is going to be the payment history. And if you miss a payment this month, it's going to take you 24 months to get that to drop off of your credit reports. Like, look at your credit reports. There's 24 boxes on there. And if you mess up this month, You got 2 years of consequences unless you're able to get that removed. 2 years of consequences that you're going to have to be willing to accept for making that payment late. It doesn't make sense. I understand the mindset, the thinking on it, because when I was younger, I was the same way. I was like, I'm going to pay it anyways. Don't matter. But that you don't want those consequences. I'm telling you right now. So look at where you're at right now. If you got late payments, the focus is going to be understanding that I'm going to have to make these payments here with this. I'm going to have to keep doing this to be able to overcome anything that I've done over here with my payment history. Like, you're just going to have to be willing to do that. And it could take years to be able to fix what you've done with an open account that you don't want to, get closed out and just try to get it removed off your credit reports. It could take years, but that's the consequences that you put yourself in. So understand that. And if you're going to have excellent credit, and I'm pretty sure that my credit was lower than everyone here that is watching this video, my scores when I had to start rebuilding was in the 400s because my wife and I had destroyed our credit. We had over $300,000 in debt, and we had to rebuild everything. And we did that without having to file bankruptcy. Not to say that bankruptcy is not an option for people, but I know exactly what you feel. I know what you are going through because I had to do it. And this is the thought process that I had to get internalized inside to be able to move forward, is that you got to have a foundation first, and you have to accept that foundation, because if you don't accept that foundation, what you're going to do is you're going to make mistakes in one of these boxes, and you're going to be wondering, why isn't my score going up? So now let's move to, okay, so if we understand, now this is one of the things that I want to make you aware of. With all of your payments that you have, it doesn't matter if it's an installment loan, it doesn't matter if it's a credit card, there's going to be a reporting date for everything that you do. And the reporting date is, when does that creditor report to the credit bureaus for all of their accounts, for all of their clients, the payments and the balances? They're going to report. So some of the times you may look on your credit reports, look at your credit reports, and it's like, I paid that bill off before the due date and my scores went down. And you're like, how did my scores go down? And then you're looking at your credit reports and you're like, my debt didn't go down, but I know I made that payment. Let me tell you the reason why. It's because you're paying the payment by the due date, which is a good thing because you're not going to be penalized on that, but you're missing making a payment on a reporting date. There's always some type of catch-22 with dealing with this credit stuff. But the catch-22 on it is that you need to find out when is the reporting date for that specific creditor, so you can make that payment before that. So you're going to have to make some adjustments. So the consequence, which is not as bad as not making the payments, but the consequence of making the payments on the due date, your credit scores could actually go down because it looks like you're carrying over that amount of credit on your credit cards, even though you paid it off or paid it down. But it looks a certain way. And that one of the things that I used to see with mine is that my scores, I would make the payments on time, and my scores would do this. So like 1 month it would go down, and then the next month it would go up. And I had noticed that on that next month when I didn't really charge my cards that much. So say for instance I had charged like $25,000 on but the previous I had charged $50,000, and I had paid that off, but I had noticed that even though I paid it off, my scores went down. The next month I had only charged $25,000 and my scores went up, and I'm like thinking, no, for both months I'm paying them off. The reason why my scores were fluctuate up and down, and I would have like a 50 and 60 point fluctuation in my scores. And I was like, why is that happening? The reason why that was happening is because I was paying it off on the due date, or right before the due date, but I should have been paying it on their reporting date. You can call up your creditors. You're the customer. Call them up and say, "Hey, when are you reporting to your information to the credit bureaus?" And they will look that up and tell you. Some of the times you got to figure it out though. Uh, One of the ways, if they don't know, like say for instance, you get someone, their customer service, and they just don't tell you, or they act like they don't know, then I would start with the statement date. So whenever they have that marked of the statement date, you should make the payment before that date, because then you will know that they're going to be reporting everything on that statement, which is the amount that you owe at that time. So some period of time by that statement date, they're going to be reporting to the bureaus. That's one good way to figure that out. And then the next thing that you need to do is you need to look at the accounts that are hurting your credit. Like, take a good look at them. And some of these accounts you may need to do away with if they're hurting your credit, or you need to get into a credit repair process to be able to deal with those. And it's going to vary depending on your situation. But now there's a tool that we have. Number one, when you sign up with our company, we give you a document that's going to say, hey, these accounts are hurting you. If you just did this minimal stuff, your scores would be able to jump up. Like this, if you do this, some people got a lot of stuff that they got to do. But this is something that we offer to all of our clients. When we get your reports and we review them, go through our process, we will, if you want it, we will give you a PDF document that will break down what you need to do, from debt to income, from the type of the accounts, all types of good information, so you can be able to move forward with your credit with a understanding what needs to be done so you can build that foundation. So let's talk about some things that I want to make you aware. Be careful of the little mistakes, because the little mistakes equal big problems when it comes to your credit. So we're going to avoid. So we're reviewing right now. We're going to avoid making the little mistakes. What are the little mistakes? Late payments. One late payment, which is really a big mistake. I would put late payments up here with the big mistake. Remember, one late payment, if you could look at it for yourself, look at your credit reports and look at your payment history and look at the months that are on there. If you mess up today and make a late payment, look at how long it's going to take you to be able to fix that. So get that in your mind. I want you to get that, internalize it in your mind so you don't make that mistake. The next thing is having too many inquiries. We have too many people come to us where they've looked at some type of opportunities, or they're looking at these videos and people are saying, apply for this card, apply for that card, you can get this soft pull, all of that stuff. Let me tell you, that is not the way to build a foundation for your credit. It is not, if you have all that credit and then your debt to income ratio, which I had showed you on there, that they're paying attention to how much debt you're carrying, that's going to work against you. So be very careful. A consequence of having too many inquiries, number one, is that it's approved or declined, that's going to be on there. Also, another thing is that other creditors are going to see that you have applied for these, and they're going to be wondering, hey, why didn't they approve them? Or if they did approve them, what did they approve them for? And then let's run that through our algorithm to see if their debt to income ratio will even allow them to be able to carry that debt. These are just the internal things that they do. So we don't want to make another little mistake by having too many inquiries. You can see, so like you start walking up that line. You start walking up that line. And we're going to put late payments here. Late payments are going to be like the top mistake, because that takes the longest to be able to overcome. Inquiries, you can overcome inquiries by, number one, stop getting all those inquiries. And then number two, you can start working on getting those inquiries removed, and we can help you with that also. The next thing is pay attention to that debt to income. Like I just said, when you have those inquiries, so we got our debt to income, you could be making a mistake, a little mistake, by applying for this department store card or that department store card, and you're not even thinking about the consequences that you're putting yourself in that's going to hurt your score. So you're going to get, yeah, you may get that card. Yes, it may go up. But what's going to happen when you start using that card? You're going to start having the algorithm work against you with that debt to income ratio. And then the next thing, that little bitty thing, that little bitty step of trying to get that other card and you messed up your debt to income, now you've just brought yourself back into, what is that, lack of history. So you got a lack of history on that new card that you just added on there. That's a little mistake. Not to say that you can't, you're not going to be able to do that, but you need to be focused on why are you getting a certain card. Like, have a strategy in place. There's nothing wrong with getting a Visa card or a Amex card if you have a use for it. But you don't just go out there and get cards to get cards, because again, that's making another little mistake that's going to add up in the end. And it's like I'm making all of these little mistakes, and it ends up being a huge mistake. Next thing is too many new accounts. If you have too many new accounts, I just showed you on the last screen what it's going to do to you. It's going to say, hey, you have not established any payment history. Like, they're too new. And you will start to get declined. And if you haven't had that happen to you already, you will get declined by creditors, and they will send you a letter. They will say, hey, credit history not long enough. That's one of the worst feelings that a person could get. I've had that letter before where it was like, I paid on this other stuff, and they were like, but you got this new stuff, and that's hurting your history. Let me tell you why that hurts your history. So let's say that you have, a credit card. This is something that I didn't even really pay too much attention to when I at first started getting accounts and building my scores. Like, there's always these things that you got to pay attention to. So let's say that you have, this is a credit card. So you got this credit card. You've been paying on this one all, like, this is good. Your payment history on this, you had that card for years. Never messed up on it. That's like your flagship. Like, that's the one where you are able to increase the they kept increasing your limits. Like, you've built that one up. So then what you went out and did is you got a new card. And then you went out and got a new card. What the algorithm reads is that they're going to take the average. The algorithm reads the average. So when you had this one by itself, it was good to go. But when you had this one and you added one other to it, or you added two other to it, the average is going to cut this. Even though you still have this history, the average is going to cut that history down. And if you only had 1 month of payments or no months of payments, your average history goes down. So you'll be like, hey, I've been making those payments and I didn't even use this card yet. Maybe you didn't even use this card yet, and your scores could go down. That could be depending on what type of card you got and the amount of available credit you have on it. But that has actually happened. More than likely it won't, but when you start using that card and making those payments, you will see some of the time, depending on how many other accounts that you might have, this is just something that you could see, and it's always different for everyone because you could have other accounts that could help you overcome that. But just by simple logic, if the amount of payment history counts in the algorithm, counts in those percentages just by simple logic. When they do the averages and you have one that's extended and you have new ones here, your average payment history is going to come down. Just based off of the algorithm is going to go down. So you have to be fully aware of that, or because that's another consequence that you're going to have to be willing to accept. But it'll still help you get somewhere, but you just need to understand that, because what we're talking about is the foundation. So if you know the foundation, which is what we talked about earlier, if you know and understand the foundation, that will help you make decisions. So if you know the consequences of making a certain decision, it will help you make the decision not to make it, or the decision to move forward with it, because you will understand the consequences of that decision. So if you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website, the3scores.com, to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. And if you get those and you send them to us, we will do a free review for you to tell you what you need to do to fix your credit, to repair your credit, and to increase your scores. We'll do that absolutely free. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations, cease and desist, and debt validation letter. I give you the instructions on those, on which one to use, and those can save you time, money, frustration with dealing with debt collectors. I do ask for a donation on that, but if it can stop a debt collector, how much would that be worth for you? That just helps monetize my time here for making these videos. Thank you for your time. Look at your notes, study your notes. I want you to internalize the notes that you made, and I want you to start working on building the foundation of your credit so you can get your credit to the levels that you deserve it for it to be at. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. Make sure you post your questions and your comments. I will be in there answering those. Thank you.
Personal credit.